I have a question for you. I always have questions for you. But here, I think, is a pretty interesting one. Here, for most of the course, we've been talking about guns, bombs, power, bullets, how realism is right, how power and force in the international system really makes a big difference as far as enhancing our own international security. Well, I have a question. The question is it possible for the weak to win wars? And if it is possible, or even probable, then what does that say about our desire to enhance security by increasing our military power? Hey, we all know the answer to this question. It's really quite obvious, right? For those of you who haven't seen Star Wars, I think you should immediately stop this video and go rent the original trilogy and watch it. You're about to see some spoilers that may ruin the end of one of the movies. Anyway, here we have a stormtrooper, the big, evil, powerful, strong, highly technically advanced symbol of the great empire that, of course, dominates the galaxy. On the other hand, we have the Ewok, little, fuzzy, teddy bear-like creature that runs around in the jungle. So, if we have, say, a battle between the Ewok, who, he's got bows and arrows, and he's got spears and slings and stones, he throws rocks and stuff like that. If this guy fights this guy with the highly technical laser guns and stuff like that, then who's going to win? The stormtrooper or the Ewok? The answer, according to the movie, is the Ewok. What? The little guy wins? That seems weird. Not only is it weird, but it seems absolutely unrealistic. I mean, in international relations, does this kind of thing ever happen? Well, let's talk about that. Now, you might wonder to yourself, how weak is weak? You know, we talking about British Empire versus Spanish Armada and the British win? No. We're talking here about things like Vietnam versus the United States, or the Soviets in Afghanistan. Under what circumstances can and do the weak win wars? What we're talking about is a ratio greater than or equal to 5-to-1. That is, the powerful must be at least 5 times more powerful than the weak, and the weak still win. Well, the question is, how often do they win? If you look at the big picture, it doesn't look too good for the weak powers. Between 1800 and 1898, overall, the strong wins 70.8% of the time. The weak wins 29.2% of the time. Still, 30% isn't too bad under these circumstances. But if you break that down over the period of certain years, over the past 200 years, the picture is more interesting. Between 1800 and 1849, 88.2% of the time the strong win, 11.8% the weak win. Between 1850 and 1899, the numbers go from 79.5% for strong to 20.5% for the weak. Gets better, for the weak that is. Between 1900 and 1949, it gets still better. The strong win 65% of the time, the weak win 35% of the time. And between 1950 to 1998, in modern times, you have the ratio flipped. The strong win 45% of the time, and the weak 55% of the time. So the classical model on which games like Risk and other games of conquest are based upon is really an early 19th century model that suggests that overwhelming force is going to win in an overwhelming percentage of the time. Now, why do you suppose that is? The answer to this question may actually have more to do with military strategy. There are a million strategies that strong and weak states can apply, but I'm going to simplify it into a few different categories. For strong actors employing attacks, there are 2 types of strategies. One is a direct attack strategy. This is a direct strategy. This is the use of the military to capture or eliminate an adversary's armed forces, to gaining control of the opponent's stuff. This includes attrition strategies where a power attacks until an opponent weakens over time. A second strategy for strong actors is barbarism. This is considered an indirect strategy. This is the systematic violation of the laws of war in pursuit of a military or political objective. It is intended to break the will of the defender. includes use of chemical and biological agents, attacking non-combatants viciously, such as rape, murder, or torture, use of concentration camps and reservations, destroying the ability of civilians to seek food or shelter by burning crops or deforesting massive amounts of land, killing prisoners of war, and killing civilians during combat. This latter is especially notable because this technique has been used excessively by the U.S. and Europe through air raids. The use of fire bombs in Dresden killed more people than in Hiroshima or Nagasaki. The use of the atom bomb certainly counts as well. Napalm bombing in Vietnam counts, burning down villages, bombing non-military targets, including communication and power centers in Iraq and Kosovo. You get the idea. Now, there are two types of defense strategies for weak actors. One is called direct defense. This is a direct strategy. It's the use of armed forces to keep an attacker from carrying out a successful direct attack. You target the enemy's military by trying to win battles. You may attempt to attack or seize strategic assets like territory, bridges, and so on in order to stop the attackers. The second is a guerrilla warfare strategy. This also is indirect. This is the organization of a portion of society for the purpose of imposing costs on an adversary. Using armed forces trained to avoid direct confrontation, it is intended to break the will of the attacker. This strategy requires physical cover and cooperation from non-combatants who are willing to hide you. Obviously, the way you want to wear them down is by making it very difficult for the attacker to find you, and by employing hit-and-run operations to slowly destroy some enemy forces and supplies. They trust the longer this goes on, the more the enemy will tire of fighting, and hopefully they will lose public support for the effort. Here's how it works. If a weak and a strong actor use the same kind of strategy against each other, the weak actor loses. This favors the strong by 76% to 24%. If a weak and a strong actor use different strategies against each other, the strong actor loses. This favors the weak by 63% to 36%. Furthermore, the longer a war lasts, the more it tends to favor the weak. Same strategy interactions led to an average wartime of 2.69 years. Opposite approach strategy interactions led to an average wartime of 4.86 years. It also suggests that all the weak power has to do is wait it out. Wait until the stronger country decides that they're tired of the fight, and then they can declare victory. So it's clear that on occasion the Ewoks actually can beat up the stormtroopers, certainly under the right conditions. And maybe the Ewoks had it right.